Hello, receiving students, teachers, and 6E. Thank you. You may take your seats. Okay, in your last lesson with Mr. Kwadogi, you looked at for living things. Now, Mr. Kwadogi asked you to draw a plan of a home of an organism. Okay, receiving teacher, you can also check with the students. Here in this model class, we have a sketch plan of a home of a fish. Okay, we have, this is the aquarium. This is the model class. What is it? This is the rock, a plant, and the gravel. Okay, so these are the things that makes up a home for a fish. Okay, very good. So receiving students, like I've said, you can check with your students after the class. Okay, we are still looking at the same strand, receiving teachers and students, and 6E. So our topic is food for them. Strand, living things. Substrand, ecology, relationship and interactions. And the outcome 6.2.2, using a diagram, describe how energy moves through the living and non-living community. Okay, in this lesson, we will describe the type of food, the type of food organisms in the soil they take in to get their energy. And also we will explain actually what happens during the process of feeding. So that's what we will do in our lesson. Okay, receiving teachers, you should provide to the class the lens and 2 sheets of papers, whether it be A4 or A3, and also some markers for the students to use. Now what we will do, receiving students and 6E, we will do a mind map. We will brainstorm and do a mind map. Now I know students that you all know what a mind map is. You will look at the sample of the soil that you have on the table or on your desk. In your groups, you will do a mind map, brainstorm and do a mind map. Okay, so you should have something like that. So on your desk, I've already given 2 sheets of papers, A3 papers. One of these A3 papers, you will use it to do your mind map in your groups. That's what you will do. Receiving teachers, you can group your students according to the number of students that you have in your class. In our model class, we have total of 9 groups. So what you will do, receiving students and 6E, you will brainstorm in your groups and come up with a mind map like this. Okay? I will read to you some of the questions or guiding questions that will help you to brainstorm and come up with the mind map. Receiving students and 6E, you will discuss what kind of organisms you have found in the soil. After discussing what kind of organisms you can find, then you try to discuss and try to ask yourselves, what kind of things do these organisms eat or feed on? Okay, so you ask yourselves and discuss and come up with a mind map. Don't look at the soil yet. We are brainstorming. Receiving students, you can ask your teacher. If you are not sure, you can ask your teacher. Try to brainstorm, huh? Brainstorm. Brainstorm meaning that you get ideas from your group members. What kind of organisms? Okay, in your previous lessons, you know what organisms are. Am I correct? Okay. Organisms refers to plants or animals. So you try to brainstorm what can you find in the soil? What are some organisms that you will find in the soil? And after that, what kind of things do these organisms feed on? Okay, 6E, we are very slow. I've already given you an example. It's on the whiteboard, okay? This is an example of a mind map. Okay, Jason is asking me, okay, how do we go about doing the mind map? Okay, like I've said, we are trying to find what kind of organisms are in the soil, okay, in the soil. So the main thing that we want to try, we're trying to find out the organisms, okay? So what kind of organisms are in the soil? So you write it down, okay? We are doing mind map. And what kind of things do these organisms feed on? What kind of things do you think these organisms feed on? Yes, we are very slow. Now remember, receiving students and 6E, I told you not to look at the soil. We are brainstorming. So you don't have to look at the soil. You brainstorm and come up with a mind map on what are some of the organisms that you can find in the soil.
Guess what page 6 student guess what you can find in this one. I need to bring something this one.
6E, may I have your attention? Do we know what is a brainstorm? Brainstorm, huh? Who is confused? Brainstorm meaning that you come up with ideas, huh? You just guess. you guess and you write whatever that you think that is found in the soil, you put it on the mind map that is on your chart. Okay, which group is finished with the activity or the mind map? Group 2? Imanos group? Are you ready? Okay, come to the front. Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. Receiving students and 6E. May I ask all of you to look in front? Emmanuel will present to you what his group has done for the mind map. The organisms that are found in the soil and what are some of the things that these organisms in the soil feed on.
In our mind map, we wrote down worms, decomposers, twigs, dry leaves, and weeds.
Okay, very good. So as you can see, okay, we have a mind map here. Okay, this is what Emmanuel's group has done. Okay, so this is their mind map. We have worms. So in the soil, we find worms. 6E, are we following? Okay. In the soil, we find worms and also ants, dry leaves, twigs, okay, correct? And decomposers. Okay, decomposers, the examples of decomposers are like worms. Worms are examples of decomposers. Okay. So the worm and the ants, they feed on dry leaves and twigs. Okay. So very good. Give Emmanuel's group 3 big claps. Okay, now I want you to place the fresh soil on the other sheet of the paper that I've given. I gave you 2 sheets of papers, A3 papers. Now you place the soil on the other sheet of paper. Yes. Okay. Put the soil on the paper. Okay, now I want you to use your lens. Use your lens to identify the organisms that are in the soil and what kind of things that you can find in the soil. While you are doing that, one of your group members can also write down the things that you have identified, okay, to complete your mind map. Okay, you can use the skewer to spread the soil so that you can it can be easier for you to identify the organisms in the soil. So use the skewer to spread the soil. Receiving teachers, you can also help your students. Okay, while using your lens, you can see that you will see some organisms. Okay, and also you will see dry leaves. Okay, we call them dead matters. Okay, dead matters includes dry leaves. Amen. Okay, 6E and receiving students, now that you have used the lens to identify the different organisms in the soil and what kind of things that these organisms feed, now you'll be able to complete your mind map. Receiving students and 6E, receiving teachers, you can check with the students' work. Elizabeth Kali, can you stand up and tell me what did you find in the soil? What kind of organism did you find in the soil? Name me one. Insect. Come again?
Insect.
Insect. Okay, very good. Any more? Samuel? Okay, insect. Samuel.
Dead roots.
Dead roots. Okay, very good. Manamoro. Dry leaves, very good. And last one. Christopher. Christopher.
Red ants.
Red ants, very good. Okay, so these are some of the organisms. Like for example, insect and red ants. These are the organisms that you can find in the soil. And dead roots and dry leaves, these are the things that these organisms here, insects and red ants, feed on. Okay, very good. Okay, organisms, they get their energy from feeding from dead matters of plants and animals. That's how they get their energy. The organisms, they feed on dead matters of plants and animals. That's how they get their energy. And in doing so, these organisms help to break substances into little tiny pieces, small pieces, okay? So when they are feeding on those things that we have mentioned, like dead roots and dry leaves, in doing so, they help to break down, okay? Break down those substances into little pieces or smaller pieces. Okay, very good. So I will show you, receiving students and 6E, some examples of organisms that live in the soil. Okay, we have worm, maggot, M-A-G-G-O-T, maggot, and wood louse, okay? Singular, one, one we say wood louse. Many, wood lice, W-O-D-D-L-I-C-E, wood lice. Okay, very good. 6E and receiving students, our main activity, you will read there are three statements there, and again, beside the three statements, after reading the three statements, you will write true or false. Let's look at number one. When living things die, they decay and enrich the soil which plants will use. Is that statement true or false? Number two, waste matter from animals is not a food source for organisms in the soil. Waste matter from animals is not a food source for organisms in the soil. True or false? And last one, number three, bacteria and fungi help break down dead organisms. Bacteria and fungi help break down dead organisms. True or false? Okay, so you write it down into your exercise book. Okay, let's move on. Number 2. We have to write faster, okay? Five, four, three, two, one. Let's move on. Number 3. Okay, barrels down, barrels down. Hands up. Everyone, hands up. Hands up. No writing, hands up. Hands down, fold your arms. Thank you. Statement number 1, when living things die, they decay and enrich the soil which plants will use. Is that statement true or false? Samantha, when living things die, they decay and enrich the soil which plants will use. Is that true or false? Samantha?
True.
Very good. The answer is true. Okay, let's move on. Waste matter from animals is not a food source for organisms in the soil. Jason.
False.
Very good. False, okay? And the last one, bacteria and fungi help break down dead organisms. Rudolph? Again? False. Is C correct? Receiving students? And 6E? Okay, the answer is true. Very good. Okay, your homework. Write it down quickly into your exercise book. What do these terms mean? Or we can say, what do these words mean? You have 3 words there: decay, decomposers, and decomposition. Just write the 3 words down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, receiving students, and 6E, our summary. We have 2 summary points. Summary point number 1, the organisms in the soil feed on dead matter of plants and animals. So we know that those organisms that live in the soil, they feed on dead matter of plants and animals, like dry leaves or dead roots. And point number 2, organisms in the soil get their energy from eating dead plants and animals, and also animal waste. Also, pekpek blo, kagaruk, chicken manure. And our our key phrase, soil organisms. And our next lesson topic will be on give some energy, and the materials that would be needed. Receiving teachers, take note of that. List of local organisms or pictures of organisms like animals and insects, and strips of papers, 5 centimeter by 3 centimeter. Okay, these are the materials that would be needed for our next lesson. With that, thank you 6E and receiving students for your participation.